All right, didn't we continue with the Pirate Spring Training Reports? John Wehner with us today, Pirate broadcaster. Rock, how you doing?
I'm good, Jack. How are you?
All right, good to talk with you again. Whether it be a spring training game or regular season game, when you get home runs and good pitching from your starter, everything is great, right?
Yeah, I tell you what, Jameson looked great yesterday. He had everything going for him. And, he's a big guy. He has a power arm, but he pitches with finesse. He can locate. He can mix in the curveball and the slider, occasional changeup. He can go upstairs and punch you out. And I thought his command and poise and everything yesterday was as good as it gets. I think this guy's ready to get going north. I think he's itching to start opening day in Cincinnati, and who knows, by the end of the year we might be his name might be in the Cy Young Award conversation, because this guy is he's some kind of special, and he's very talented. Had a great year last year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him top what he did a year ago.
Mm-hmm. The opening in Cincinnati is not that far off, so how does the roster shape up right now? When do we get more cuts, and your thoughts here on how that's going to be?
I got to assume they got to make cuts here today or tomorrow, or at least in the next couple of days. There's still 49 guys in camp, and obviously they got to cut it down to 25. So you still, half the roster's got to go, and then most of the decisions I think are going to be pretty easy. And I think for the most part, people know where they're going to end up, with the exception of the shortstop position, third base position. Although I think both third basemen, Colin Moran and Jung Ho Gun, will both make the club. I'm not sure about the shortstop situation. You got maybe a bullpen spot or two that's up for grabs in the fifth starter, which I think Jordan Lyles. I'd be surprised if Jordan Lyles doesn't hold on to that spot. I mean, he's, I think, the favorite going in, and he hasn't done anything to not make the team as the fifth starter. And the other guys in the competition, I don't really believe have done enough to really take over for him. So, yeah, still a lot of guys in camp. I still think there's a lot of tough decisions made. We head out of Bradenton on Sunday. We go to Houston for a couple days, and I'm sure that they'd like to have that roster pretty much set by Sunday. And it's like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see 10 or 15 guys head out of camp here in the next couple of days.
Mm-hmm. What's the latest? We try to get updates every so often on Gregory Polanco. What's the latest on him? Maybe how close or far away he is?
I think with a bat, he's fine. I think he's been getting into some games over at Pirate City and minor league games and swinging the bat a little bit. And and I think if the National League had a DH, I think he'd be ready opening day to hit. But anytime you have surgery on your throwing shoulder, that takes a little longer to get back. And I think he's throwing over 120 feet now, but he's still strengthening that shoulder, and I think it's going to take him at least another month or so to get all the way back. The rehab process is kind of slow, and they're making sure that they're being patient and doing everything the right way to where he doesn't have any setbacks. But that progression will continue to stretch out the throwing arm, and he'll start throwing a little bit harder, hopefully sooner. But that's a tough thing to come back from a shoulder surgery. I don't know if you always wonder, is that arm strength ever going to be what it was? And that doesn't mean that he still can't play the outfield and still can't be a good outfielder that still has a good arm. But I don't know if he'll ever have the arm strength that he once had, and he definitely won't be with the team opening day. He'll stay down here, continue to rehab that shoulder, continue to get at bats. We could hope for May 1st to have Gregory Polanco back in the lineup. I think anything before May 1st would be a bonus. But somewhere in May, I think is the target date to get him back.
Mm-hmm. Port Charlotte today. You're going to meet the Rays. How many guys get to pitch today? Who's on tap?
Well, for the Rays, our old buddy Charlie Morton is pitching for them, and for the Pirates, it'll be Nick Kingham, and Kingham's kind of on the outside looking in, I think, as far as the starting rotation is concerned. As I mentioned, I think Jordan Lyles will probably be the fifth starter, but Nick Kingham, he had a good outing. He's had a couple bad outings. For him, I think it's all about command and staying out of the middle of the plate, using all his pitches, being able to throw them for strikes. He's a guy that's interesting because he's out of options, which means if he doesn't make the club as a starter or a reliever, he has to. Any other team in baseball can claim him because you have to take him off the roster before sending him to AAA. And so, I think every time he goes out there to pitch, it's an important day because the Pirates don't want to lose him. They want to give him an opportunity, but there's obviously 3 or 4 or 5 guys he's competing with to make the club, and so I think it's important for him to go out there and pitch well today.
All right, Wehner, thank you, John. Appreciate it a lot. We'll talk to you to get an update on Wednesday, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Jack. Talk to you Wednesday.
You bet. And our report, Pirate Spring Training Reports, brought to you by Diamond Drug, Diamond Medical Supply, where they